kind of the best way I can kind of describe it in a lot of our interactions with whatever it is. It's kind of like some of the areas that we've been in the swamp and we went repeatedly over and over and over and over again was like Skinwalker Ranch, man. Like the stuff you hear from Skinwalker Ranch. With the work, so everybody up here, this Ty's up here, over there. He's just having a beer, relaxing. And so if Ty's been up here in the mountains with us before. That's Betty's husband, and so he's just poking around. He's been contemplating whether he should go out with us or not, but
thinking about it.
he's thinking about it.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, because you know we do not have a replacement for Mark, and
I'm a logical choice anyway.
yeah.
When I was like 10 years old, maybe, my grandparents, we lived in an old Victorian house that was like built. It was one of the first houses in Auburndale.
And everybody that knew Ty in Auburndale knew this house was haunted.
Everybody knew the house. Well, the lady that my parents bought the house from, she died in that house. On the freaking couch in my living room that I sat on and my mom sat on.
Hold on. Who died?
The lady that owned the house before my parents bought it.
Before your parents bought it.
My parents bought the house. I was like 2 years old. I was born in '64. This house was an old Victorian house built in the late 1800s.
Betty, where's the flashlight at? We can't see his face.
I don't know what I did.
Okay. My husband lived in a haunted house. Now everybody in our hometown knew if they spent the night with him, some strange, freaky stuff happened. I mean, why don't you
Freaky shit.
tell us what your mom and dad and grandparents and you even experienced?
I was about 10. The first time that I had anything happen to me, I was about 10. We were in my kitchen. My parents had an old 8-track radio that had speakers in the sides that you could literally pull out, and like they had wires and you could spread them out. It was like a hi-fi thing, you know, back in the early 70s. Well, my grandparents were at our house, and evidently, I can't remember what it was. We were getting ready to go out of town or go fishing to Okeechobee for a week. I mean, we used to do that kind of stuff. But we were at our house, and we were getting ready to go to bed, and my parents and my grandparents and my uncle and aunt, we'd all been sitting around. We had a big kitchen, you know, big kitchen table, and we had been sitting around, and they had the radio playing. Well, we got ready to go to bed, and my mom said, or my dad said, turn the radio off. So somebody tried to turn the radio off. The radio wouldn't turn off. And so, you know, after messing with some stuff or whatever, they couldn't figure out why the radio wouldn't turn off. And so finally, somebody said, okay, we'll just unplug it. So somebody, I don't remember who it was, unplugged this radio from the wall. Music kept playing. I think it was my dad that said, take the batteries out of that damn thing. And so somebody literally turned the radio upside down, and there was batteries, big batteries, you know, like D's probably,
D's, yeah.
like 8 of them,
Yeah.
that were in this radio, and took all the batteries, and literally the music is still playing. The music never stopped playing. Took all the batteries out of this radio. Music kept playing. It's not plugged in. There's no batteries. So literally, we didn't know what to do. You know, I mean, we were like, okay, well, we just leave it on the table. We went to sleep. About, I don't know, 30 minutes after everybody said the heck with it and we were going to bed, the radio stopped.
Yeah.
No more radio.
Ty's
So did you
Well-
did you
No, it
Ty's
was,
mom even told me stories. I've been married to Ty for over 37 years, and his whole family had stories about this particular house.
I had a rocking chair
Rocking chair.
in my bedroom.
He's had friends that literally have left his house.
I had a buddy
in their
of mine,
underwear,
in their
tearing
underwear,
out of the house,
he was running out of my house
down
in
the
his underwear.
highway because the rocking chair would rock.
It would rock and it would not stop rocking.
Yes.
And
They've had TVs turn on, dishwashers turn on.
Wow.
I mean, there's,
Footsteps coming up the stairs because it was a two-story old Victorian home.
and I literally, when I was going up the stairs one day, I saw something like pass by me, and I couldn't tell if it was a woman or a man or what the hell it was.
you sound like you
It
sound
was
like
just
you're ready
some-
for the trail of Bigfoot.
It was like it just like swooshed by me, and I was walking up the stairs,
And
but
you
I
were a
could see it
teenager.
out of my peripheral vision.
You were a teenager.
Yeah, I was probably, I don't know, 13 maybe. But I mean, there was some weird shit that went on in that house. So, you know, I mean, as far as what I can say, and I never really talked about it a whole lot growing up. I mean, all of our family knew that our house, there was something in our house and we didn't know what it was, and we thought that it might be haunted, or you know, there might be some kind of
Entity.
ghost in our house or something like that, but I never really was scared of it. My mom always taught me to, you know, not be frightened of it. So I never was, and it never bothered me, never like messed with me or anything like that. But there was always weird stuff that went on in that house, and again, that house was built before Auburndale was Auburndale. It was called Sanitaria.
Yeah.
And the people that owned that house were very wealthy people, evidently, because it was a big two-story house, and they owned, like, according to records, they owned like 113 acres all around us, you know. And that house was set right in the middle, and it was like right on Lake Ariana, and now there's a big road that goes by there, but it's still there. And I hadn't been in that house in a long time, but you know, I never felt scared when I was in that house.
I did one night.
I never felt scared
Oh
in
my
that
God,
house.
yeah.
Never.
Let me tell. Okay, yeah.
But there was some weird stuff that went on in that house, and I couldn't explain it. But you know, I never was afraid of it. Literally ran from my house. He ran at like midnight,
Yeah,
1 o'clock in the
One
morning.
of our friends, Scott Whitney, picked him
Scott
up
Whitney
in his
picked him up.
underwear.
Yeah, in his underwear. He was going home.
He was running. Scott Whitney
he was
stopped.
not staying at my house.
Scott Whitney
No.
stopped him and said, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Yeah, what
and
are you
Chris
doing?
said, "Get me in the car." So Chris Welch told Scott Whitney
He left in his underwear.
what had just happened. So Scott Whitney took Chris Welch home.
There you
So,
Yep. Yeah, it was. That was a weird house, man. I mean, but I never had a bad feeling in that house, though. You know, I never had I never had a feeling like something really wanted to hurt me or anything like that.
when we moved back,
It was kind of weird, really. It was,
when we moved back from Tennessee, we wanted to buy the house from Ty's sister. Ty's sister owned the house. And we loved Victorian type homes. But the more I thought about it, the more I kept walking in and trying to figure out how we would remodel it and redo it, because it needed help.
That's better.
I just kept getting a bad vibe.
That's very
And I
bright.
told him, finally, I said, you know what? I don't want to buy this house. It's giving me the ibby-jibbies. I said, there's something in this house that I don't like, and I don't want to buy it. We never wound up buying it. But even I have experienced something in that house. I went to a bachelorette party, and his sister babysitted my eldest son. And when I got back to the house, Ty was meeting me there. And I went upstairs where my son was asleep, and I was laying in the bed with him waiting on Ty. And then all of a sudden, I could hear steps. It was a 2-story home, so you could go up a flight of stairs and then it would turn.
Yeah,
And I could hear the steps like somebody was climbing up the steps, walking up the steps. I thought it was him. So I lifted my body up out of the bed and looked, and there was nobody there. I stood there for a minute, and I kept hearing the footsteps. I picked up my son. I went out that house, out the door, got in my car, and waited on him. I would not step foot back in that house because I knew.
Yeah, that house looks. I mean, that house
I
looks.
knew.
Yeah.
I was
that
hearing
house
footsteps.
That house looks like it belongs in a horror movie.
I
man.
knew
Right
I was
now.
hearing footsteps coming up them stairs, and it wasn't him and
Well,
nobody
I
else.
I honestly think it was the lady that lived there.
Your mama told me
That
she
Mom and Dad
committed
bought the house
suicide.
from.
Who
And
committed
she
suicide?
The
died-
lady that
she-
owned the house.
Oh.
She literally died in that house on the couch.
On the couch.
That was still in that house and probably still there today. I don't know. I haven't been in there in a long time.
The house
But-
looks like it's falling apart.
It does, and it needed a lot of work. The historical registry, was going to put it on the, but
We were interested in buying it.
they wanted to put, to where we had to make it available to the public for X amount of days a year.
yeah,
and,
like
we
6
didn't,
times a year.
Yeah, we didn't want to go through all.
We didn't
that.
want to go through all of that.
But there were some things in that house that I couldn't explain, but I never was afraid of anything in that house. I mean, it didn't scare me.
I was.
I wasn't
don't
scared
mind,
of it.
I don't mind telling you either. It just,
And I guess that's how I dealt with it, because I had to live there.
yeah.
I lived
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
try to. Yeah, you
I
got no.
just dealt with it.
You got no choice. You
Yeah,
got
I
to
had
live
no
there.
choice. I mean, it's not like I could pick up and move. Shit, I was a kid, So it is what it is. But yeah, it was definitely different. Put it.
And
in
the
easiest
weird
terms.
thing about it is it just wasn't Ty's mom or dad or Ty that heard this stuff. It was other family members.
Oh yeah, it was other. Yeah.
It was his cousin Derek
Oh, Derek. Yeah.
was in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Remember
yeah.
that incident?
Mm-hmm.
And literally Derek saw something or heard something, and he went running out of the bathroom with his pants down. It scared him so bad, whatever he'd seen. So getting back to the Bigfoot or paranormal type activity, I don't know.
I think it could be linked. I really do.
There's been a lot of cases where they're both
From what
linked.
y'all have told me, and I haven't been really vocal. I've never. Y'all know this. I've never
Yeah.
been really vocal about my feelings on the paranormal versus what y'all have experienced. I've not really said any, even to you. I mean, honestly, I've never said it, but there's a lot of strong ties there. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah, and what would you call it though?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, people actually on our channel get aggravated with us.
Well,
and
I
they'll
mean-
say, "What are you, a Bigfoot hunter, or are you a ghost
yeah,
Well,
but
I'm
some
not-
of the stuff
I'm not-
stuff y'all have explained.
I'm not so worried about that because
Well, it matters to me because I want our reputation to
yeah,
stay.
that's right. The
Yeah.
channel is called what it is.
Yes,
But
our
realistically,
reputation means a lot.
right. But realistically, it is all about going into the wilderness areas in pursuit of the truth,
Yes,
in the pursuit of what is out there.
exactly.
Our focus is to try to find anything, relations, and any kind of work involved in relation to this thing. And I still use the word thing because I just can't.
We don't know what it is.
I just can't
No.
put it on there.
Should the channel then be be renamed the
No.
trail to what's out there?
I don't. I've pondered a lot of things, because
Because our channel's
because
name is the
the
trail
channel
to
name
Bigfoot.
channel name kind of pigeonholes it, and some people go, well, what is this? Do you do that or do you do that? Do your ghost hunting or whatever? I'm like, yeah, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, yes, there are big footprint found. There is big footprints found in highly paranormal areas.
And there's nothing to say that the
And
Bigfoot thing is not metaphysical either. you know
No,
what I mean?
it's not to say that it is entirely physical. It's not to say that it is something entirely spiritual.
That's right.
We're just merely trying to say that we have seen a lot. There is entirely paranormal stuff going on in areas to where you will have physical sign, and physical sign being footprints, sticks, breaks, teepees, and some people go,
And I
"Well,
saw
it's
that
not a
TP. I saw
teepee."
that TP. And when you pointed it out to me, I was like, dang.
That was
Okay,
it.
but
That
hold
was
on.
That was like,
But how many times have we been riding up the roads? We've not seen any teepees anywhere along any of these mountain roadways. Nowhere. Nowhere. But they're found in areas that have activity.
activity, exactly.
and we weren't looking for it. We were going to
We were going to a campsite, where
campsite.
Chris and
And we heard a
yeah,
whistle.
where y'all have been.
Y'all didn't hear the whistle. I heard the whistle.
Yeah, you heard the whistle.
Yes.
So I guess what we're getting at
And when you
is
showed it to me, I was like, okay.
And it was very intricate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very, I was like,
And we're talking
Wow.
trees.
and it's
And they
We're
were
unnatural.
talking
they
trees.
were felled just perfectly. I mean, it's like,
And for it to fall natural like that, that
That-
was the
yeah.
first time I saw my husband's face
I
understand what I've been going home and telling him for
That's-
2 or 3 years.
it's kind of like when you see a little kid get something, when they get it,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay.
But you go back to the same theory, and I think our quest really started when we were kids, because we know.
Yeah, but why is that
What
common?
we saw that.
That's common.
Yes, it is.
Why is that common?
I don't know.
That is common.
I can't explain it.
That is very common that people say they've had experiences as a child. Now, the lady that died in the Green Swamp, she wasn't living in the Green Swamp. She had lived in the Green Swamp, to my understanding, as a child.
Maybe we're more susceptible to it as a child.
Oh well, her name was Carol Ann, and she died of the same stuff that Robert Dodson died of, the brain stuff, the brain cancer, the sudden onslaught of cancer. It was in her brain, and she died. And she had told me things that happened to her as a child, that they used to peek in the windows on her. So the question is that seems to be oftenly reported when people do admit to it, and they go, well, as a matter of fact, this has been going on. This happened in my childhood, so this stuff goes on way back when I was a child. Although I wasn't pursuing anything, but now I am pursuing something.
Well, as a child,
You know?
like in our case, I can vouch for me. I never told any of my friends because, first of all,
We didn't.
when you're 10, 11, and 12, you don't want your friends to say, oh, y'all are wacko.
You get laughed at,
You're
yeah.
stupid.
Well,
you'll
I
get,
felt
you'll
weird
get
when
laughed at.
people would talk to me about my haunted house.
Yeah,
I would like downplay it.
yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I'd be like, nah, well, yeah, it wasn't that big a deal. But really,
It was.
it was.
It
It
was.
was a big deal.
I know,
But
I never
was
stayed
I was like trying to play it down,
Well,
because
because you didn't
people
want
don't want you to think you're a freaking wacko,
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's our biggest issue when you're a kid. You want your friends to not think you're Looney Tunes. But I know what I saw, and I know what you saw, and I know what everybody else in our group saw that day in the Green Swamp. It was at the edge of the Green Swamp.
Yeah, we were still living in an area that was still considered Green
yes,
Swamp.
yes.
And now it's very highly developed now.
Yes.
The Green Swamp is shrinking because of development.
Yes. And I still would like to go back just to see the area. It's been God.
Yeah,
what,
you
There's
need to
still
go back
millions,
soon because
millions.
it's getting
years?
developed.
Millions of acres, though. There's millions of
Well,
acres.
let's just call it what the area that we said that there was an orange grove,
That's
right?
just one little spot.
It's gone.
Right? The orange grove just got ripped up this year.
It's gone.
You know, the orange grove
Yeah.
that we said that we skirted around to be able to get to the swamp, it's gone. They pulled it all up this year, and they're fixing to plop in probably 500 houses.
Well, there's a storage.
You know, which is another reason why I might move to the mountains.
A storage unit facility is going into that area also. You know, the whole area.
We heard that's just talk.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
We heard it's just talk.
Okay. So that
It-
big sign sitting
far-
out front is not true.
As far as we know, it's houses going in, but that's
Wow.
Florida. Welcome to Florida. It's all turning into Los Angeles. You know?
Well, you know,
It
okay,
is.
so
Or New York.
what are
or-
we trying to say to our audience?
What are we saying? You know, we've talked about a lot of things. We're basically this is just campfire talking, you know. But you know,
We're spitballing.
but you know, it's
What could be the next fun thing out there to do?
I'm too much. So long as I can still have an able body to get around, you know, hopefully my nerve will get better. It should. I'm going out west. I'm going out west. I'm going to freaking hike the Sierras. I'm going to do all kind of things, and I'm just going to take the camera with me. And if y'all could, if you can come along, you can come along. If you can't, you can't. That's fine, you know. I went to Peru. That was a very interesting thing.
That's where you should have squatched down there.
That's a very interesting thing. At least I got my son. I asked my son, all right? I asked my son, I said, now come on now. I said, do you actually think with what you saw down there in them ruins down in Peru, and, you know, and specifically the Machu Picchu area, I asked him one question, do you think they had help? Now he's a mechanical design engineer, all right? Smart kid. Mechanical design engineer, so he should have some understanding of leverage, mechanics, how solid objects, how liquid is done, how solid materials are done, heat, and all the rest of that stuff that they do in design, right? And he even admitted, he said, okay, Dad, I'll hand that to you. They probably did have help.
But from who?
And I said, from who? He
Exactly.
goes, I can't tell you from who.
Or where.
That's what he said.
Or when.
Now, what I meant by do you think they had help, even though my son won't admit it, is, you know, help that was something that was like superhuman. You know, did they have help that was not human? You know?
Of this earth.
Yeah, so when you go into these places and seeing these ancient civilizations, you come to the realization of this. Ancient man wasn't so dumb as we keep getting told.
He wasn't so ancient.
Yeah, ancient man wasn't so ancient, and ancient man is not as dumb as we are always schooled and led to believe. And no, not at all, man. When you start seeing that stuff, the intricacy of how it's all interwoven and the stones, and man, some of these stones are just massive.
Oh,
And Machu Picchu is like an island. It's like an island surrounded by mountains.
And you're asking yourself, how did they bring the stone there?
Yeah, you're like, you know, and some of them say, well, there's a stone quarry there.
Yes.
There's a stone quarry there.
yeah. But how you get them up the mountain?
Yeah, well, they said there was a stone quarry there. They had the stones already there. Some people say that.
Right.
But still, even if that was entirely factually true, they got to move them. They got to set.
move 'em.
They got to move them. They got to set them, and they got to
They
sculpture.
They got to design it.
Yes, they got to
They
sculpture
got
that.
to design it.
Your spooky deal
spooky.
there.
It was spooky.
Alrighty.
Cool.
We're gonna call it a night.
Yep. 10 o'clock.
There you
All right.
go.
10. Yep. Not 10.